the biggest thing is like a lot of people want something, but they don't want to put in the hard work. They don't want to wake up early. They don't want to do the shit that sucks.
You probably don't even want to go to the gym.
The biggest lesson I've learned is like never giving up. And it sounds so cliche, but
true.
like it's so true.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show, your go-to for real estate, business, health, and family insight. I'm Chris Salerno, CEO of QC Capital. Each episode, we explore the latest trends and expert advice from industry leaders. Whether you're an investor, entrepreneur, or seeking balance, this show provides an inspiration you need. Join us and elevate your game on the Chris Salerno Show.
Welcome to the Chris Salerno Show. I'm your host, Chris Salerno, where we talk about business, family, and health. I have Taylor Killa Bee Starlings with us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I'm super excited because I've known you for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Before you even got started, or right when you were getting started into the professional fighting, industry. So I'm excited to dive deep into your whole background, your career, to what you're doing today. Why don't you tell a little bit about your background and what you're currently doing right now?
Yeah, okay. So I am a mother, first and foremost. I have two boys, Carson and Brody, 7 and 6, so really close in age. But I am a professional fighter. I have fought boxing, kickboxing, MMA, bare-knuckle, so I've been all over that. I've worked so many jobs. It's been a mountain. I've climbed such a mountain to get where I'm at now, and I've come from the bottom to the top in a short amount of time. So it's awesome. And just,
I love it. Talk to us about, how did fighting even come about? Like, what was that eye-opening to where you said, I love this, I want to take this to the next level?
Yeah, just getting picked on a lot as a kid and like not really being good at anything. Like when I grew up, I couldn't find my niche. Like I couldn't find something that I was good at and passionate about. And I always was put in the back of sports, like softball. I was in the outfield. On the dance team, I was in the back line. And like I always wanted to be in the front. And so just after getting picked on and bullied and getting in a lot of fights in school and not really taking shit off of people, I had a wrestling coach drag me to the side and be like, hey, like you got to use this for something else. And went to go wrestle. At the time, there weren't really a lot of girls in wrestling. And so I was like, hey, do you know where I can do like boxing, or anybody who has that kind of gym or something I can do something like that? And that's where the transition happened. And once I did that, I was just naturally good at it. Like, I mean, I was probably terrible, but like in my mind, I was naturally good at it. I was passionate about it. It was something I could show off on my own and be at the forefront of. And I just like stuck with it. I remember every day being like, I'm going to fight for a trophy. And then I fought for a trophy.
I love it.
Then I'm going to win and be a pro. So yeah.
There we go.
Just took it and ran with it.
I love it. So you went from MMA, and then from MMA, where'd you go next?
I did MMA. I did kickboxing. I did, I'm trying to think. So like I did amateur MMA. I never really did amateur kickboxing. I had one amateur kickboxing fight. And that's when I kind of went over to my pro boxing debut and did all of that. And I got a call from Glory Kickboxing, and Glory Kickboxing is like the UFC of kickboxing. So there's like bare-knuckle, boxing, you got Showtime and all that for boxing, but Glory is like the peak of kickboxing, and it's not a big thing because kickboxing is just not as popular as everything else. But at the time when they called me, I was like, oh shit, like I'm getting a call for the biggest organization in kickboxing. It's a huge deal. And they brought me in. They wanted me to lose so bad. And I lost the fight, but they wanted to bring me in as a can. Like they thought I was going to come in and just get knocked out in the first round. It's not what happened. Like I fought hard the whole fight and like really gave this girl like a run for her money. But they had expected me to come in and just get annihilated. Yeah. But I went there and then I was like, okay, cool. I was signed to them. They had sent me this multi-fight contract, and it ended up they like went bankrupt and had to like sell their company, and it got taken over by somebody else now. So I kind of was in this period of like, what am I going to do? Like, so I went back to MMA and I fought a couple fights MMA, and that's when Paige Van Zant had signed to bare-knuckle. So she had gotten released from the UFC, signed with bare-knuckle. And when I seen that she was doing it, I was like,
it's coming.
I was like, I could beat up Paige Van Zant in bare-knuckle, like that mindset. Like I could beat her up in bare-knuckle. And I started really pushing myself, like trying to get my name out there to bare-knuckle is hard. It's hard to get into bare-knuckle, by the way.
It?
Like it's hard. Like if you don't have the right connections, like they weren't paying attention to anybody.
Really?
So I had to like just really push myself so hard to get there. And finally I did. And thankfully I made my own name for myself with that.
I love it. I love it. I want to touch on contracts. Let's touch on the business side of fighting, because everyone sees these UFC fighters. You know, a lot of them say they're underpaid, but you really don't know the back end of it. You don't know the business unless you're in the business. Talk to me about the business side of it. You know, do you have an agent? Does your agent go out just like, you know, NFL, NBA and farm you out, you know, trying to get with these organizations to get you fights? Walk us through that.
So I've had managers. I don't have one now because the contracts with bare knuckle are very simple. They're very black and white. They send you 3 pages and it's very like this. Now I've worked for other people like Glory. When they sent me a contract, it was like this thick.
I'm sure. A whole book.
And it had lawyers and attorneys, and I was like, oh shit, I need someone to look at this. But now with bare knuckle, like I've been with them so long and like kind of know the run of the situation. I don't really need a manager. Yeah. And it got to a point where like the fight game is just like is dirty, to be honest with you. But like having a manager, like they want 15% of what you get paid. Okay. And if you get sponsors, they want 15% of that. But a manager's job is to get you sponsorship deals.
Make
like
you that
they
income.
should do that. So I was just at a point where like I had managers that weren't bringing me deals. And I was like, you know what? I can get my own deals and keep all the money. And I can read this damn contract. I would read these contracts and be like, why do I have a manager? Yeah. For what? I'm not.
I mean, if it's 3 pages.
Yeah, I know what's going on. Like, I know the run of the mill for this for bare knuckle, so I don't need anybody to do it. But yeah, there's a lot of fighters have managers. It's kind of sad because there are managers who don't look out for your best interests. Sure. Like they just see money and they're like, yeah, let's. You know what? I think you can do this. Go out there and like fight this monster and give me 15% of your purse and you go home with no teeth. And like, that's what it is.
They don't care.
Yeah. But I worked with a really big company called First Round and I just kind of let them go just because, like I said, like everything was so black and white and simple. I was like, I'm giving you guys 15% of my check for what? Like I don't need to give you guys that. So
smart.
Yeah, so that's kind of the deal with managers and fighting. Like,
so when it comes to those contracts, obviously I've heard of it. Tell me more. When it comes to the contracts itself, you have X amount of fights, you know, that you get to pick, you get to do. You know, what does that look like? Where I gave you a contract and say you have X amount of fights. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so when a lot of people will see in the UFC or bare knuckle or other places, like people sign a multi-fight deal. Basically, it's a contract that they give you, and it's like you're gonna fight 5 times for us. If you lose, you'll make this much. If you win, you can get like paid more.
This much or a bonus.
But basically, it's like a inclusive contract where they're like, you get 5 fights, but you can't go anywhere else.
Got it.
You're gonna fight under us. You can't go somewhere else.
Smart. I mean, that's how it should be.
Right now, I'm not in a deal with them. I just I finished out mine. I had a 5-fight deal, and I went through all my 5 fights, and they haven't re-signed me yet. I'm a little hurt about it, but they haven't re-signed me to like an exclusive deal, so I could essentially go somewhere else.
Got it.
So now it's like single contract. Like every time I have a fight, they send you one and you have to sign it. And that's another thing. Like people don't realize like when you fight, it's not like, oh, hey, I want to fight you, so let's make it happen. Yeah. Like they have to negotiate and money and deals and times and weights and like all of that. Like your whole contract is this agreement agreement for someone. There's been plenty of girls that I've been like, I just want to fight them and they want to fight me, but but the business side, like, oh, we need to know that this fight's going to make money. We need to market.
We need to do all this.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think a lot of people are just like, well, you guys want to fight each other. Why isn't it happening? And it's like, well, if the business isn't giving me a contract to fight them, I can't do anything about it, you know?
Yeah, you can only tell them so much, but if they're not going to go ahead and draft up all those paperworks and make sure the marketing's in place and things like that, I think the business definitely has to see it being valuable.
Exactly.
You know, for them to bring them more exposure.
Oh yeah, there have been times that they're like, we want you to post that you might fight this person, and we want to see the traction that it gets.
Oh, yeah. And based off that traction, we'll go ahead and make it happen.
They're like, we need to know that the people want to see this or that the people care about it. And like, so you know me, I'm on there hustling.
Oh, you are. We'll definitely put your Instagram handler on this YouTube because we follow each other, and you're always out there posting stuff.
Oh man.
And trash talking. You have to, you know, to get those fights.
That's what people want to see.
That's what they love. So you went back, and then now, how'd you get into bare knuckle?
Like I said, like, so when Paige Van Zandt signed with them, I had seen it. And at the time, like, bare-knuckle was really small. They were, like, just starting. I think they had 2 events. And I had heard about them. And I was like, ooh, like, that kind of looks fun. Like, I really like the way that they're fighting. I think it's so much more than what people realize. And my coach at the time, I was at a different gym. And my coach was like, there's no way in hell you're fighting bare-knuckle. But they knew, like, I'm just the way that I am. I'm like, I want to do the craziest.
You'll take on anything.
Yeah,
I
the craziest savage
100%.
fighting that I can possibly do. And there was nobody really in it like Paige Van Zandt. So when she signed, I was like, if Paige Van Zandt can do bare-knuckle, I can do bare-knuckle. And Paige Van Zandt's, for people who don't know, like, beautiful, blonde, bombshell, gorgeous, like you wouldn't expect her to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's really what planted the seed. And I was like, I'm going to make this happen. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I'm just going to promote myself and push myself. And it's funny because like at that time I was working at Carowinds pulling weeds and like doing landscaping. And I was like working 2 other part-time jobs. And I just remember telling everybody there, like, I'm going to go to bare-knuckle and you guys are never going to see me again.
Oh, yeah.
And like, they didn't believe me, but I like really pushed for it and just promoted myself and like got in touch with the right people. And
I love that.
Thankfully it happened and changed my life.
There you go. And we'll touch on that fight in a second. But I wanted to touch on what you just said, that people didn't believe in you.
Yeah.
You know, it happens throughout the journey. Even when you are at the level you are and you're about to fight for a championship, hopefully. Yeah. Which I'm excited to watch. But even when you get that belt, people are still going to hate on you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and how are you blocking that hate out? Because I remember when we first met, you know, I met your parents at Carowinds. We connected over 10 years ago. And I remember your goals. And you know, I was never the type of person to be like, yeah, good luck with that. You know, I was the type of, you can do it.
Yeah.
But people hated still, you know? So how did you keep that momentum, that positivity mentally to get to where you're at?
Man, I am my biggest fan. Like, I believe in myself. I'm one of those people that thrives on like someone telling me I can't. And like, I remember like telling people like, this is what's going to happen and it's going to happen. And like them looking at me like, oh, okay, like, sure. But I'm like, no, like I'm going to get what I want. And I think the biggest thing is like a lot of people want something, but they don't want to put in the hard work. They don't want to wake up early. They don't want to do the shit that sucks or the bad days. Like there's days where I'm like,
you probably don't even want to go to the gym.
I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. I want to go like work at a coffee shop and like throw it all away. But like, you have to remember like, no, like there's a bigger picture and you just got to keep going. And the biggest lesson I've learned is like never giving up. And it sounds so cliche, but true. Like it's so true. Yeah. And
you have to stay consistent and keep pushing. Yeah. And touching on those hardworking days, we touched on it before the podcast. Let's talk about, and we'll get back to Paige on that fight. Let's talk about the health, the training you put into this. I mean, you have to eat healthy. You can't go out and drink. Yeah. You know, you can't go out and eat fast food or fried food. You have to watch what you intake when it comes to food, and then also your sleeping regimen, then your training regimen. Walk us through that. Like, how strict are you, you know, during that? Yeah. And then preparing for a fight, too.
Man, it's a lot. So for people who don't know fighting, like when you have a fight, I go through what's called a fight camp. So it's 12 to 8 weeks before the fight, training for the fight. Yep. And I mean, I get my off times. Like right now, I'm not really in camp yet, but it's coming. It's coming in like a week. But you get a little bit of time to be bad and eat bad, but I still have to train. I still have to train. I still have to train. I still have to sleep good. I still have to kind of watch what I'm doing. But when I'm in camp, it is like I have nutritionists who literally track what I eat all day, every day, from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. Whatever I put in my body, they know. They tell me this is what I need to do and this is how it's going to be, like tailored to that. My workouts are very specific times of the day and around what I'm eating, and my running, like I have to do extra stuff like run or go to the sauna. Like I have to do these insane sauna sessions to make sure that my body's running the right way to sweat so that I can cut weight and sleep. And then on top of all of that, like running my kids around and everything like that. But
I know being a single mother is very hard.
Yeah. I'm very like, as crazy and wild as I am so structured in my day-to-day life that if something goes out of place, like for one day, I like lose my mind.
Do you?
But yes, very like I have my times like set. I have my food times set. I have everything like mapped out from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. So yeah, it's a lot
Love that.
more than people realize, but you have to be willing to do that.
Oh,
And
you have
for
to. It's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
I always say there's always a catch-22, no matter what you do. And that's what we were talking about earlier. You're training so hard to get that championship belt where personal friends and family members are like, hey, why don't you come hang out? Hey, why don't you come do this? And it's like, you can't because it's a catch-22. You have to give up spending time with them to get what you want. And in this case, you want the championship belt.
Yeah.
So you got to work hard for it.
I can't even describe, like there have been so many Thanksgivings and Christmases where I'm sitting there and I can't eat or like can't celebrate with everybody. I can't drink on New Year's. Like I can't do all the things like that. And but I'm so dedicated to it and so disciplined that like, and it all pays off. And like I get my time back after the fights and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think, like I said, so many people just envision it as two people going in there and fighting, and it's not. There's
a lot of preparation. I mean, what we talked about earlier too. You're spending hundreds of thousands of hours, dieting, training, doing all the grunt work for only 10 minutes in a ring.
For glory, baby.
That's it.
For the glory, baby.
I love it. I love it.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chris Salerno Show. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and gained valuable insight to help you along your journey. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions or topics that you would like to cover, feel free to reach out directly to me. Shoot me a message on Instagram at Chris_Salerno_. Until next time, keep pushing forward and